I arrived home early from my business trip, excited to surprise my wife Amanda, but my key wouldn't work in the door of our Seattle suburban home. Confused, I tried calling but got no answer. Then my phone buzzed with a text I found someone better. Another message followed. "Don't try coming in." I changed the locks. Then a third from inside my own house. "Jake makes me happier than you ever did." I stood shocked on my doorstep, luggage and gifts in hand. I took a deep breath, smiled, and replied, "Are you sure about that?" Then I walked away. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, let me know where you're watching from and hit subscribe to hear what happened next when my supposedly loving wife of 5 years locked me out of my own home for another man. I'm Woodrow, a 32-year-old cybersecurity specialist at a major tech firm in Seattle. I've always been considered a rising star in my field, recently presented with an opportunity for a senior position that would change everything for us financially. As a first-generation college graduate, I built everything I have from scratch with values my father instilled in me: loyalty, hard work, and honesty above all else. My close relationship with my dad taught me the importance of self-respect, a lesson that would prove invaluable later. Amanda and I met during our senior year in the computer science program. We shared ambitious dreams and complementary personalities. After dating for 2 years, we married and spent 5 years building what I thought was a solid partnership. We decided to focus on our careers first, postponing children until we were more established. During our wedding, we exchanged vows, emphasizing loyalty and partnership promises I took seriously every single day of our marriage. I watched Amanda transition from the ambitious career woman I fell in love with to someone increasingly focused on fitness and appearance. About a year ago, she started a part-time job at an upscale fitness center, claiming she wanted to supplement our income while pursuing her passion. I supported this completely, even though I was already earning enough for us to live comfortably. Over time, I noticed her developing an obsession with fitness appearance and social media presence. Her taste in clothing, experiences, and memberships grew increasingly expensive. To maintain the lifestyle she wanted, I found myself working harder and longer hours. A gradual emotional distance developed between us, though I attributed this to our busy schedules. She formed a new circle of friends from the gym, whom I rarely met, always with excuses about scheduling conflicts whenever I suggested joining them. Looking back, I missed so many warning signs. Amanda began criticizing my work hours and calling my personality boring compared to her new friends. The passcode on her phone suddenly changed after years of transparency between us. She started taking mysterious weekend retreats with her gym friends that she would be vague about afterward. Our credit card statements showed unexplained charges and shopping sprees that she would dismiss when I asked about them. Our physical and emotional intimacy decreased dramatically. Instead of addressing this directly, I blamed myself and my work schedule. She would make subtle hints that she deserved more excitement, and frequently commented on other couples and upgrade stories where people traded in loyal partners for more attractive or wealthy ones. At the time, I never imagined these comments related to our relationship. The business trip that changed everything was supposed to be a 3-day meeting in Chicago with a potential client for a multi-million-dollar contract. As the negotiations extended and went well, my stay stretched to a full week. During this time, my daily calls to Amanda became shorter and more distant. She seemed distracted and uninterested in the potential breakthrough this contract represented for us. I was so focused on succeeding for our future that I missed the warning signs in her behavior. When the deal finally closed and I was offered a promotion, as a result, I was ecstatic. I booked an early return flight, bought expensive jewelry she had been hinting about for months, and couldn't wait to celebrate with my wife. The Uber dropped me off in front of our house a day earlier than expected, ready to surprise her with life-changing good news. Standing on my own doorstep with the key that wouldn't work, the reality began to sink in. I tried the key again, thinking perhaps it was stuck, or I was using the wrong one. After several attempts, confusion gave way to concern. That's when I noticed an unfamiliar car in our driveway, a sleek black BMW I had never seen before. From across the street, I could see our neighbors, the Johnsons, watching uncomfortably. They quickly averted their eyes when I looked over. Something was very wrong. I called Amanda's cell phone 3 times with no answer before the first text message arrived. The complete text conversation revealed Amanda's stunning coldness. I found someone better. Don't try coming in. I changed the locks. Jake makes me happier than you ever did. We've been seeing each other for months. You were too busy working to notice. I want a divorce. My lawyer will contact you. When I asked who Jake was, she sent a photo of herself with a muscular man with tattooed arms on our couch, the furniture I had worked overtime to afford. Jake, as I would later learn, was a personal trainer at her gym, known for dating his married clients. Amanda added cruel comments about me being predictable and boring, compared to him how I was married to my job while Jake was married to living life to the fullest. She even had the audacity to outline her demands regarding property division, claiming she deserved the house and at least half of everything else. Standing there in the light rain that had begun to fall, I felt physically ill. Tunnel vision set in as I struggled to process what was happening. My stomach twisted into knots, and for a moment I thought I might vomit right there on our carefully maintained front lawn. Despite the physical symptoms of shock, I fought to maintain my composure, aware that neighbors could see me. The symbolism wasn't lost on me, as the rain increased, soaking through my dress shirt as I stood locked out of my own home staring at the text messages that ended my marriage. After sending my calm response, "Are you sure about that?" I walked back to my car on surprisingly steady legs. Once inside the vehicle, the composure I had maintained crumbled. I couldn't drive. My hands shook too badly to even put the key in the ignition. After sitting in stunned silence for nearly 20 minutes, I called my best friend Michael, managing only to say Amanda locked me out. "She's with someone else." Michael immediately said he was on his way. While waiting for him, I checked into a nearby hotel in an emotional haze. The receptionist must have recognized the look of a man whose life had just imploded, offering an understanding smile as she processed my credit card. That first night alone was a blur of alternating rage, grief, and disbelief. I couldn't eat or sleep, my body running on adrenaline and shock. The next morning, seeking answers, I began a social media investigation that revealed the timeline of their affair. Photos of them together at restaurants and events appeared during times Amanda had told me she was with girlfriends or at work events. Some dated back at least 4 months, including periods when I was on previous business trips. Then came the calls from mutual friends finally admitting they had known about the affair. Some claimed they didn't want to get involved. Others said they weren't sure it would last and didn't want to ruin our marriage over what might be a temporary fling. Their excuses rang hollow, their betrayal almost as painful as Amanda's. When I checked our joint accounts, I discovered our savings had been nearly emptied, with $45,000 gone over the past 3 months in large cash withdrawals. Our joint credit card was maxed out with charges for trips, designer clothes, expensive restaurants, and gifts I could only assume were for Jake. Further investigation revealed Amanda had quit her job at the fitness center weeks ago without telling me, claiming she was still going to work while actually spending days with Jake. Photos online showed them together at luxury hotels during my previous business trips, evidence they had been planning this ambush for months. Most disturbing was learning about Jake's history. A mutual acquaintance who worked at another gym revealed he had a pattern of targeting wealthy married women enjoying the lavish lifestyle their money could provide, before moving on to his next victim when the funds ran low. My emotional state spiraled from shock to crushing grief as the 5-year marriage I valued crumbled before my eyes. Rage at the betrayal burned through me, especially after years of supporting Amanda's dreams and ambitions. The humiliation of learning our friends knew before me added another layer of pain. On the second night alone in the hotel room, I hit rock bottom. In a moment of weakness, I considered begging Amanda to reconsider, to give our marriage another chance. Before I could make that self-destructive call, my phone rang. It was my father. "Son, I heard what happened," he said, Michael, having filled him in. "Before you do anything, remember who you are and what you stand for." That hour-long conversation changed everything. My father reminded me about maintaining dignity and thinking strategically rather than emotionally. "You're hurt and angry, and that's natural," he said. "But don't let those emotions drive your decisions. Think 3 steps ahead, just like I taught you in chess." That night, I made my first small act of self-respect, blocking Amanda's number temporarily to give myself space to think clearly. It was time to respond with intelligence rather than just emotion. The next morning, I contacted my lawyer friend James for an emergency consultation. Over breakfast at a quiet diner, I showed him the text messages, the financial statements, and everything else I had discovered. James listened carefully, taking notes and occasionally asking clarifying questions. "This is straightforward," he said when I finished. "Washington is a community property state, but financial misconduct and adultery can influence how assets are divided. We need to document everything immediately." Under James's guidance, I created a detailed timeline of the affair and financial misconduct. We met with my bank that afternoon, where I discovered the situation was even worse than I initially thought. Amanda had secretly taken out loans in our joint names and opened credit cards I knew nothing about in my name using our joint application history. While the financial betrayal was shocking, I found strength in taking concrete action. A core group of loyal friends rallied around me, offering emotional support and practical help. My former colleague Thomas offered his guest room until I could find permanent housing, saving me from depleting more resources on hotel stays. With James's help, I developed a strategic counterplan. First, we filed for legal separation with evidence of adultery and financial misconduct. An emergency court order froze our remaining joint assets, preventing Amanda from emptying accounts further. I canceled all joint credit cards and reported fraud on the unauthorized charges made without my knowledge. I set up new bank accounts, secured important personal documents, and filed a police report for illegal eviction from our marital home. As a precautionary measure, I met with HR at my company to protect my professional reputation and explain the situation before Amanda could attempt to contact my workplace with false allegations, something James warned might happen. A detailed financial audit revealed the full extent of Amanda's spending, with Jake luxury weekend getaways, expensive meals, designer clothing, and even a down payment on the BMW I had seen in our driveway, all funded with our joint savings and credit. Throughout this chaotic period, I maintained my professional focus, finalizing the Chicago deal despite my personal turmoil. My boss, who had experienced a difficult divorce himself, proved surprisingly understanding and supportive. The promotion and raise came through, providing financial stability when I needed it most. I worked late most evenings, partly to stay distracted from the personal pain and partly to ensure my career wouldn't become collateral damage from my failed marriage. As the court orders took effect and the financial reality hit, Amanda's messages became increasingly desperate. She couldn't understand why her credit cards were suddenly declined, or why she couldn't access our bank accounts. Meanwhile, according to mutual friends, Jake had begun to distance himself as the money stopped flowing. I maintained complete silence for 4 strategic days, following James's advice to let Amanda experience the consequences of her actions without any emotional outlet from me. On the 4th day, my phone exploded with calls and texts while I was in a meeting. When I finally returned her call that evening, Amanda was screaming before I even said hello. "What did you do?" "My card was declined at Nordstrom for a $500 purchase. The bank says our accounts are frozen. I can't even pay for groceries." In the background, I could hear Jake arguing with her about money, his voice growing distant as if he was preparing to leave. "I didn't do anything illegal," I replied calmly. "I simply protected what's legally mine while the courts decide how to proceed with our divorce." Her tone immediately changed from rage to manipulation. "Baby, this is all a big misunderstanding. I was confused and made a mistake. Jake means nothing to me. Can we please meet to work things out?" I agreed to meet, but with our lawyers present. Her silence told me this wasn't what she had in mind. The next day we met at James's office. Amanda arrived, dressed to manipulate in the outfit. She knew I always complimented hair and makeup carefully done. Jake was noticeably absent now that the money flow had stopped. She seemed shocked by my calm, professional demeanor, clearly expecting the emotional, desperate man she could easily control. James presented the divorce papers, along with extensive documentation of the affair and financial misconduct. Amanda's face fell as she flipped through page after page of evidence, including photographs, bank statements, and affidavits from witnesses. Her attempts at emotional manipulation failed spectacularly. First came tears and apologies, then accusations and threats, followed by attempts at seduction when those failed. Nothing worked. When James explained the legal consequences of her unauthorized loans and credit card fraud, including potential criminal charges if we chose to pursue them, she finally broke down. "You were never supposed to find out until I was ready," she admitted in a moment of frustrated honesty. "Jake and I had plans. I was just securing my future." "So you were using me for financial security while planning your exit?" I asked, needing to hear the truth. "What did you expect? You were always working." "Jake makes me feel alive." With those words, any lingering doubt about my decision vanished. I stood nodded to James and walked out, while Amanda screamed at our lawyers. For the first time since that day on the doorstep, I felt the weight lifting. The woman I had loved was gone, if she had ever truly existed. The legal process moved quickly thanks to the overwhelming evidence. The judge ruled strongly in my favor on financial matters, making Amanda responsible for the debts she had secretly created. Our house was sold with the asset division heavily favoring me after accounting for the money she had already taken and spent with Jake. After the financial consequences became clear, Jake completely vanished from Amanda's life, just as my friends had predicted. She made several desperate attempts to reconcile, showing up at my workplace and sending messages through mutual friends. When these were calmly rejected, she resorted to harassment, resulting in a protection order that finally gave me peace. Despite the favorable legal outcome, I still experienced a period of grief. 5 years of marriage doesn't disappear without emotional consequences, regardless of how badly it ended. I found a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma, working through the anger and trust issues that threatened to define my future relationships. I moved to a new apartment across town, purposely choosing a neighborhood Amanda never visited. The fresh start helped me rebuild my identity separate from my failed marriage. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected during my relationship and developed new hobbies and interests that revitalized my spirit. Physical activity became my healthy outlet for processing lingering anger. I joined a local boxing gym, channeling my emotions into disciplined exercise rather than self-destructive behaviors. My physical transformation matched the mental one, leaving me stronger in every sense. Professionally, my success continued to grow. The Chicago deal opened new opportunities, eventually leading to a senior position with international responsibilities. My colleagues expressed respect for how I handled a personal crisis without letting it affect my work performance. While I used professional success as a positive focus, I was careful not to make work my entire identity, setting healthier boundaries than before. One unexpected positive outcome was discovering my capacity for mentorship. Several younger team members sought my guidance not just professionally but personally, having heard fragments of my story. Without divulging inappropriate details, I found ways to share wisdom about resilience and self-respect that seemed to resonate deeply. The most valuable lessons came from recognizing relationship red flags I had previously ignored. I learned about the importance of financial boundaries even in marriage and developed stronger people reading skills. I gained a deeper appreciation for genuine friends who stood by me when it would have been easier to walk away. Most importantly, I discovered an inner strength I never knew I possessed. Through the most painful experience of my life, I found that my worth wasn't tied to someone else's validation. While I wouldn't wish such betrayal on anyone, I developed genuine gratitude for the growth it forced. 1 year after that rainy day on the doorstep, I accepted a position in a new city, ready for a completely fresh start. During my last week in Seattle, I unexpectedly saw Amanda at a shopping mall. She was with an older, well-dressed man looking unhappy as she clung to his arm. Our eyes met briefly across the atrium, and I was surprised to feel nothing but compassion for the emptiness that seemed to define her existence. My new life included a growing friendship with Sarah, a colleague who shared my values of honesty and loyalty. Unlike my relationship with Amanda, this connection developed slowly, built on mutual respect rather than intensity or appearance. While I don't know where this relationship will lead, I'm approaching it with hard-won wisdom and healthy boundaries. The journey from devastation to strength taught me that resilience isn't about avoiding pain, but moving through it with integrity. Self-respect proved to be the compass that guided me when every emotion pulled me in destructive directions. By refusing to compromise my values even in my darkest moments, I found my way to a life more authentic and fulfilling than I had before. Have you ever experienced betrayal that ultimately led to positive change in your life? Share your story in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming life's unexpected challenges. Don't forget to share with someone who might need to hear that pain can transform into strength with the right mindset. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, sometimes what feels like the end is actually the beginning of something better. Your support means the world to me.